Hello and welcome to our next season of Mass Effect's solo sessions that we're doing. A little bit of backstory for the characters of Season 3. This time with me is Frank. And Frank... Hello. Frank is playing a character named Sid Mack. Frank, before we go jumping into this, can you give us a little bit of information about Sid, what they look like, and things like that, where they were raised, some basics without getting into the nitty gritty or giving away the cake.
So, Sid Mack, a little shorter than average height, probably about 5'5". I don't know what that is in centimeters for you Europeans. Google. About average weight, so 110 pounds. Google for you wonderful Europeans. So basically, short and a little skinny. Very small boned in stature. They have a nice little medium ruddy skin. Little Eastern Mediterranean, almost Israeli skin color. They have very fine dark brown hair with a few streaks that are just dyed throughout it, just for style and fashion. Cut very, very short, like much shorter than mine. A little shorter than Scott's, I'd say. We'll see what Ollie comes up with, and I'll base it on that. They have multiple piercings throughout their ears. Once again, we'll see on the artwork if that's true or not. They have hazel eyes, and we're just wearing, as Ollie said, standard Star Wars pilot clothes. So
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Oh, right. I should tell Ollie that.
All right, let's edit this video so we can...
But yeah, it's very uniformed and almost athletic clothes.
Awesome. There you go. Because you're not wearing any armor or anything like that, I don't believe. Or at least you're wearing like heavy clothing, right?
Heavy clothing.
Yeah, so it's like a very basic armor sort of a thing. Okay, cool. Awesome. So where Sid had grown up was actually on the planet that we're starting. Again, without giving away the cake or anything, the planet that you're starting in is a planet named what is it? Tyurma?
Tyurma. I can't pronounce it, so
it's Tyurma. It's actually Russian, and it means trash.
That's why I can't pronounce it. It's Russian.
Sorry, it means prison. My apologies. So it's Russian. It means prison. There's a story as to why this is the case, why it is that you are here, but that doesn't matter. The fact is, you grew up here, and this is your planet. Now, while growing up here, eventually along the way, you were able to find yourself a vessel. This is your vessel. You've had it. As a matter of fact, you got it up and running and functioning. And for the first time ever, you were able to leave the atmosphere of the planet itself. You did a little bit of exploration, having your mind blown of what exists in the galaxy beyond this little planet where you had grown up. This little, we'll say, colony where you had grown up. Now, going back to the colony, what the planet was like, and so what life was like back there. The colony wasn't originally intended to be a colony. It happens because of a circumstance that transpired with the Alliance and some people that were loyalists to the country that they were in served prior to joining the Alliance. That doesn't matter. So people got marooned here. That doesn't matter. Let's talk about the planet itself. It is a very warm, very, very arid world. Because of global warming that's happening in the planet, who knows why. Humans didn't do it. Because of global warming, wherever it's happening, the planet has more or less dried up. There are tons of plants that still grow everywhere, but these plants are these long, vine branches that don't really have any water inside them. They're very, very wiry and dry. They have these huge spikes that stick out of them, spikes that are strong enough to actually, if enough pressure is applied, cut through durantanium. At least thin layers of it, not like super thick stuff like metal can plow through it, but thin layers of durantanium it could actually cut through. It's very dangerous. It's a very unforgiving. The forests here, and there are many of them, don't grow like a typical forest. Tree with underbrush. No. It's like huge jungles of just brush with thorns everywhere, making it almost impossible to navigate by all, except for those who know exactly where to go or how to make paths. And unfortunately, you're not really one of them, are you, Sid? No.
Oh, God, no. Definitely not.
No, not in the least bit. So most people have to stick to whatever areas the humans have stayed together to survive. Why have they had to stay together to survive beyond the fact that they don't have water? Well, the predators on this planet have more or less devoured all the remaining prey that existed here. Food becoming more and more scarce, them being forced to move away from wherever it was they were beforehand, having less and less food to choose between. They've more or less devoured all the prey, and to continue surviving, now predators are actually hunting each other as a consistent thing, as like that is the most norm, as opposed to territorial squabbles and hey, I got free food. It made, through their evolution over the past however long it took, the predators here are extremely aggressive and extremely dangerous, accustomed to fighting other things that are capable of fighting back. So what's a human? Okay, sure, they do have guns and swords and stuff, but other creatures have talons and claws and tails and whatever. The most prevalent of these creatures is a monitor-like creature. Think like a Komodo dragon, but even larger, with a spiked tail on it. They're very reptilian. These creatures, Sid, to be extremely dangerous, because not only do they have these big claws, and the way that they're able to move is with these like big jumps, almost like how a rabbit jumps, but not as fast. However, the strength makes a good stride for it, is that they have this, whereas they're scaled throughout most of their body, like a reptile, they have a chitin-like forehead and skull, leading to the top part of their neck. They've actually learned over time, over the past 20 years or so, they've learned how to handle humans. Humans defend themselves usually with firearms. Okay, they literally lean their head forward as they pounce at you, allowing many of those shots to be deflected off of the armor. It makes them extremely dangerous to encounter if you're not well armed or well trained, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Moving away from the flora and the fauna of this planet, the government of the planet that you've experienced, the humans have been forced to stick together to survive all these things. So what they did is they actually found an old, what they believed to be Prothean ruins after they got marooned here, and they've been able to kind of scrap together life down amongst these ruins that were never discovered before. They believe them to be Prothean ruins. They can't get any of the technology to work, but they were at least able to use it to build houses, to make weapons, to survive, to continue pushing forward, to dig water from deep down underneath the ground, and so on and so forth. So there is one city that has a few hundred, I say city, has a few hundred, maybe about 1,000 humans that survive here because of population increasing over the course of the past amount of time. So there is a few hundred, maybe 1,000 humans that live in this area. Most of them live within this city. However, some that don't like the way that the government works, that don't agree with those that are in charge, they kind of like splinter off and go and live in their own little towns on the outskirts of the city, but still like close enough by that a day's travel will get them to the city. They have their own little communities there, and the city doesn't bother them. They don't bother the city. They get along for the purpose of trade and whatnot. They just don't like the ruling. That's fine. Except summers here are overbearing. The summers here would waste human life. They cannot survive, all but maybe the most hardy human on the surface of the planet. They have to burrow deep down to stay safe. Where they burrow down is actually underneath the city. So all those little townsfolk, for about a fourth of the year, make their way back to the city and live there, abandoning their homes and hoping to come back to them and take them back from whatever has overgrown over there in their absence. Where is this city? At the bottom of a huge chasm that is believed to have been like a ravine, or what is it, like at the bottom of an ocean. So like at the bottom of an ocean there would have been a fault line. They believe that this is the bottom of a fault line of a former ocean, as opposed to just a big canyon, right? Awesome. So we've understand the planet now and its basics. We understand where it was that Sid had to grow up. So Sid, along the way, met up with some friends, discovered an old vessel, and were actually able to get this thing up and running. Is it running well? No, but they got it running. And so, never having had an opportunity to leave the planet since before Sid was like so young that they can't remember much aside from a little bit of life on a vessel with their parents. Sid and their friends decided to take off from the planet, and they did so for a couple of reasons. One of them is the fact that about 3 years ago, Batarians started arriving on the planet and raiding it. You had believed it was Protheans. Like, oh, the Protheans have returned. We're not just seeing their ruins like on Mars and here. We're seeing them. Oh, these aren't Protheans. At least we don't think they're Protheans. We're not sure. They might be Protheans. They might not be Protheans. But they want to take us as slaves and use us in work camps. This is horrible. And so there's like a feud going between like a small Batarian pirating operation and the human survivors here. You got your ship up and running, trying to escape this. And so you took to the stars, you and your companions, and tried to explore outwards. Looking at old navigations and whatnot of places that were believed to be guarded worlds, doing the best you can to understand the language that is used there, which is very, very, very strange. You were able to take to the stars and eventually actually come to what's the name of that solar system? Utopia. To the star of Utopia, which has one of the planets there. It goes by the name of Eden Prime, the first or second human colony that existed. You know of it because you discovered it. You don't remember it from when you were a child, but I believe you said, Frank, that Sid chose not to...
Not trusting of it. It's kind of one of those things of they have always heard of other planets with humans, and they remember the stories of how someone betrayed, everyone on that ship that got marooned. So it's kind of like, we're not going to trust them in case they tried to steal our ship too.
Gotcha. Okay, so you chose not to land on Eden Prime or engage with any of the humans. Eventually we're like, we don't know how much more the ship can take. Eventually did the trek all the way back to the star, my cop, that you guys were from. I feel like I have to sneeze.
Gesundheit.
I think I'm good.
I already said Gesundheit. You canceled your sneeze out.
Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. So, sorry, I've had a sinus infection for over a month. It's loads of pleasant. So, you make your way back there, and you're like, we're just going to go land the ship. We're so excited we're able to do this. We might be able to get help in the future, but perhaps we should approach the local government to see what they want to... As you were landing your ship, you get engaged by Batarian fighters. That's right, because like I said, there's a few Batarian vessels that come here. They are a pirate operation. Whatever name they might go by, doesn't matter. You're not aware of it. But they have a solid 2 cruisers that come on and off the world, a couple of frigates, and a couple of fighters. So 2 fighters come and engage your vessel. And you're trying to survive. Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Sid is flying this ship and has a couple of crewmates with them. Why don't you do me a favor and roll for me a piloting check to start.
No, mine defaulted to strength for some reason.
I haven't changed the defaults yet.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be... I could assume dexterity. And not strength. Or is it anything I want? Oh, I rolled very poor.
For me, always roll 20 comes in later. Like, I could make a die roll, and like other people tell me what I rolled 2 seconds before I see it. And I'm like... So you rolled poorly with your pilot check. That's funny. You only have a +2 on pilot?
I rolled a dex on it, so...
Do you have a 3d6 or only 2d6?
Oh, wait, let me check. Because I do have Starfarer, Star Captain,
auto a 10 for
Alert.
things.
I don't get any bonus on that because I don't have a specialist in it.
Cool. Awesome. So you roll your 2d6, you get a 6, and unfortunately, the ships around you are pulling in quick. At this point in time, there is because of the crew people that you're with, one of the other members of your friends is taking the position of captain. They're like the bossy one that tells everybody what to do and whatnot, and kind of annoys everybody, but they usually go along with it just because, like, you are friends with them, you know they got your back, but, like, God, trying to argue with them is just a pain in the balls. So you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, we'll just go along with it just because it's easier, even though they're not exactly brilliant. All right, so moving on. The captain is kind of like giving out orders and whatnot, and you're listening to what they're saying, and you're like, this is not what you should do. This is not like the best way of handling this. Like, I've read books about this. Like, this isn't how you handle these kind of situations.
No, I think Sid would also be panicking because, she's never been in a ship like this and never been in ship combat before.
So Sid is doing the best they can to survive the scenario, and unfortunately, the two Batarian fighters are getting positioning on your ship. The captain starts calling out orders and getting everybody to line up the guns to fire them, and so moves all the CP over to the guns to fire them. But right as they do so, it's one of those things that as soon as they shoot the guns, which, Frank, could you actually do me a favor and make me that gunnery check? But assume that you have skill level 0 in the gunnery check, and skill level of -2, but a dexterity of 1.
Now, gunnery check would be heavy weapons, or?
Correct.
Okay. No attribute found, of course. Haha, another bad roll.
No, you're fine. So they go to fire the guns, and not only do they miss their target, the power draw just to use this thing is so extreme. So many of the ship's systems just completely turn offline. Your EZO drive goes offline, though your propulsion systems are still on. Most of your sensors and navigation systems turn offline. I mean, your shields are at half power instantly from that happening. It is not a very good thing. Your Guardian system is we don't have a Guardian system. What's a Guardian system? You've never heard of them, because this ship is from before they existed. So you have no idea. So all of a sudden, a bunch of things go offline, and everybody starts panicking about needing to fix the ship, so on and so forth. And they all start like running to the engine room and running to take care of this other stuff. Do me a favor, roll me a piloting check, but this time with a -1, because you are missing a lot of your stuffs.
-1. And I think this entire time, that's not a good roll again.
Cool.
Wow, I'm rolling wonderful. Oh. I think this entire time, Sid has their hands on the whatchamacallit, the cockpit joystick, I don't know what it's called, and is just shouting over their shoulder, "Guys, what did you do?"
So the Batarians very quickly move in and just start blasting at the hull as much as they can. Luckily, the ship actually has some pretty hardy hull, and it's kind of getting to the point where as long as you stay up here, you're sitting ducks. There's no way you can survive up here without having your weapons online, and those seem to draw too much power. A feasible escape route, but it's going to take you a while to line up a jump, and you don't know how long you could survive out in space, or whether or not they can follow you. You don't know any of that stuff. So what do you do?
Let's see. So my options are crash into the planet or escape into the dead space. For safety, because does the city have like anti-aircraft or anything like that?
Kind
or
of.
just like rudimentary stuff?
Very, very rudimentary. We're talking, they've been able to fasten together some stuff like basic lasers to do it, but these lasers are like, they probably couldn't shoot your ship down, but they can do damage to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's very basic. They do what they can to survive.
I think Sid would plan on like doing a crash landing somewhere near relative safety, where if they do survive the crash, they can escape.
Awesome. So the plan is to immediately start careening towards the planet with trajectory and whatnot set up. So I imagine you call back to the rest of the crew that the thing you need most is your navigation systems online.
Yes.
Awesome.
Because she doesn't want to eyeball it.
Okay. So you call that out to them that you need your navigation systems online, and they're working on it furiously as you're careening into the planet, trying to get down to where it is that you believe it is. Luckily for you, you've had opportunity to study this planet before. I mean, there were bits of information that were able to be extrapolated by the humans from the believed to be Prothean ruins about the planet, like surveys of it. And you were kind of educated as a child on how it is that you can fix things and the goings-ons of at least this planet. Like your Sid is not very is very educated, at least about some pretty rudimentary stuff. I mean, even piloting is one of those things where not only is it instinctive for them, but it's also a skill that was trained at some point in time using old like VR training modules, because one day you're going to need to be able to join back into the Alliance, which is where these people came from. Some still truly holding on to the belief that the Alliance will come and rescue the peoples. So it's stupid to believe that, but whatever. There are
Totally some things it does not believe in.
It doesn't matter because you were a child.
Yeah.
And you had to do what they told you to. Mm-hmm. So hence the rebellion. Piercings everywhere. Stereotypical. So you are doing the best you can to eyeball where it is going down. Roll for me a piloting check. -2. Sorry.
And this is how I had to re-roll my character on the first session. Not even. -2. Hey, I actually rolled not crap that time.
So you make your way careening towards the planet, as we were just saying, trying to find out where it is that you're going to go. And actually, you notice the body of land that is, well, I should say, the whole planet is pretty much land. You notice a chunk of land that you're familiar with. The depths of it, the surface of it is much deeper than otherwise. You're able to kind of fly down into that region and you continue dropping and dropping and dropping in altitude, them following behind you. Eventually your navigation systems come back online. When they do so, you can kind of start plotting where it is that you can crash. You set a place of relative safety.
Mm-hmm.
Were you hoping to, like, right next to the human city? Were you hoping like a place so you can almost do like some dodgy weavy stuff in hopes of surviving there? Were you hoping like a forest? Like, what was the...
See, Sid doesn't want even the planetary government to take her ship. So they are going to, a place that they can recover it themselves, or with a small crew of just her friends, where they can crash land, get away from the Batarians, come back if the ship's still there after like a couple months of just laying low. Okay.
Roll for me this time because you have navigation and everything online. You know this area pretty well. Blah, 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 blah. I'm actually going to be kind to give you a +1 to this piloting check. You go right ahead.
This is where I roll just 91s all the time.
I started off with a 1. And
I know, it started with a 1. So everyone's going to 91s.
Nope, not bad. You go to 9. So you're able to plan yourself to go down deep into where this ravine is, down deep into the crater, and fly along it until you found one of these forests. And you just come crashing through the forest, trying to use it as a bit of cover to get away from the vessel. Along the way, you were actually able to break sight from the 2 fighter ships. They're much larger than your tiny little thing. Well, sorry, not much larger. Their ability to maneuver terrestrially is not anywhere near as finite as your vessel is. So they're a bit clunky, and so you're able to kind of outmaneuver and get away from them, their line of sight, or even potentially their sensors, and to bring your ship down. You bring it down hard. It's technically a crash landing because you don't have all of your systems online.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody survived. I mean, there were a couple of injuries, head bangs, so on and so forth. One person broke like a toe, but everybody actually survived. As soon as like the crash lands and you're able to finish checking up on everybody, what does Sid immediately do? Just like, do they approach one of the other crew members? Do they like, what's the immediate?
The immediate reaction is Sid totally uninjured in this?
Yeah, I mean, bumps and bruises.
They just melt in their seat, arms down, just look up at the ceiling, go, fuck.
Nice. Okay. Eventually, everybody kind of gets their bearings, and you can leave the ship behind. Leave it to go. But before doing so, you need to check and see how well it's functioning. You and one of your friends were like the mechanics that actually got it up and running. Everybody else is just kind of like a part of your crew, and so they're like, "Yeah, I'll come with you." Why don't you, with the assistance of your friends, roll for me a electronics check with a +1.
Electronics +1. Aye, aye. If I can find electronics. Ooh, there it is.
Okay. You're able to discover that what's going on with the issue that's with the ship right now is that the sudden draw of that weapon being fired actually overstressed the power core of the vessel, and it is not capable of generating power. As a matter of fact, trying to start the ship right now without the proper kind of containment could cause a devastating explosion. Is your guess. But you know what I mean? You might be being a little dramatic. So it's one of those things where it's like, we can't even test the ship to see whether or not it'll function right now. Beyond that, other parts of the ship have little bumps and bruises, things not fully functioning. You actually check out the gun itself, and you're like, this thing should never have been fired. This thing has so many issues wrong with it, beyond the fact that the power core couldn't handle it. You know,
I think the first thing that they're going to do is, I assume they have like walkie-talkies or something, is just on the walkie-talkie, just call that person out. Be like, hey, you fucked my ship up.
There'll be a bit of squabbling between you and them. Like, I was told to be the gunner. I was the gunner. What? I mean, I shot the thing, and it didn't shoot.
You were the gunner. That means it was your responsibility, which makes it your fault.
You're the mechanic. Why didn't you fix the gun before you told me to shoot it?
Why didn't you check the gun to make sure it worked first?
I don't know. What are you talking about? Somebody says shoot, I shoot.
And, you know, it probably just goes back on.
Yeah.
Sid's being very sassy about it's like, you're going to buy me so many beers.
Oh, yeah. Beer, because that's worth it.
Oh, yes. Beer in this. It's very expensive.
Yeah. It's like root milk. So anyways, fermented root milk. So
Delicious.
You guys are able to get out of the vessel and start trying to sneak away. While sneaking away and heading back towards the human turf, you do still see the Batarian fighters flying overhead scouting for you guys. You need to try to not get caught by them. Is your plan to kind of like lay low in the woods for the night to hope that, you know, kind of like they let up eventually in the morning? Or to, now I'm not going to say it out here, and push on and hope that they don't notice you back to the city?
See, here's the thing. If we stay, we might be taken as Batarian slaves. If we go, we might turn into a midnight snack for any type of beast that's out. So I think Sid would suggest staying actually inside the ship. Just, you know, gather wood, light a fire inside the ship, and just hunker down for the night until it's safe-ish to move.
Awesome. It's funny because you guys can gather wood and light the fire as you're suggesting. One of the little issues is that while the vine-like wood is very dry, it's also very hard to burn. It is not easy. Like, you have to get a pretty high temperature to get it to burn. Luckily, you have futuristic technology to help you. But like, if you were just trying to rub two sticks together, that
Okay.
would never, ever. If you're trying to burn a couple leaves, no, we're talking like you have to get a temperature of like easily 600 degrees to have this stuff start to light.
Ooh,
So
that is very hot.
yeah, that's pretty hot. I mean, I've gotten wood burning stoves over 900 degrees. Yay, that's not much of a skill. You learn that stuff pretty quickly, pretty easily, or you kind of fiddle and you pick it up. But like, if you're sitting out in the middle of like nowhere and you don't have like a contained cast iron device to like allow that, that is a very difficult thing to do. Luckily, you do have futuristic technology that makes it feasible. Why don't you roll for me a survival check, and you can actually do wisdom or intelligence.
Joke's on you. I have -1 in survival.
Joke's on you, buddy. DC 6, anyways.
Oh, well. We define.
Okay. Oh, there you go. You got a name. So, I was like, where's the roll? There it is. So, you actually get your fire started, and you can stay inside there. It's not a matter of warmth. It's a matter of trying to cook up something that's, edible. As I had said beforehand, much of the plant matter here that is capable to be like much of the plants here are like poisonous to humans. But luckily, if you cook it, it's not that you need to cook it to kill bacteria. It's the high temperature breaks down the compounds that is aggressive
Toxic.
to humans, exactly toxic to human consumption. You know what I mean? So you guys just kind of like cook it the stuff to like make it safe for you to eat. It's disgusting, overly chewy, flavorless. It's an unpleasant experience, but you don't complain about it because you're so used to it. This is normal everyday food
it's like-
for you.
God, I can't wait until Sid goes to the Citadel and has Burger King for the first time.
So like give an idea, a more delicious type of like root that you would eat here would taste like if you had cut open a rubber tree and were chewing on the center of a rubber tree. Like that is like
Tasty.
that's not so bad. You know what I mean? Like actually this has like a little bit of like something to it. You know what
It's
I
got
mean?
a little tang.
Yeah, as opposed to a horrible just like, oh, my tongue feels like battery acid. You know what I mean? Moving on. You survive the night. The ships, you can actually hear them passing by from time to time, but after a couple of hours, they eventually let up. The sun comes up in the morning, and you all make your way back to the city, bickering along the way, but surviving nonetheless. When you get back to the city, what kind of responsibilities does Sid have for day-to-day life? Their hope was to get off the planet with their vessel and maybe start some sort of something, but unfortunately failed to do so. Succeeded, but failed to be able to continue doing so. The hope was to maybe be able to return to the government here and offer some sort of aid with like
With money.
lots of benefits. You know what I mean? But unfortunately failed to do so. What was it that Sid was doing before? Did they did they work a normal job, or are they into
I think Sid is a professional scavenger. So, because there's runes, like ancient Solarian runes every like 20, 50 miles or whatever. It's, go out, check the runes out, see if there's actually anything useful.
There you go. And an important thing to note is that the most valuable thing on this planet is water. So if you're out there and you happen to come across a pool of like, I don't know, a couple like liters, like I should say like a couple hundred liters of water, and you're able to collect that is worth so much here. And that's actually one of the ways that you guys were able to save up to get your hands on this vessel. What it was is more or less it was kind of like paying people off to let you get within a rung of people that are like, we have this old ship, and then actually be able to take the ship. Here's a question for you, Frank. Did Sid buy this ship outright? Like, I actually own this because I bought it outright? Or did Sid come across this ship that was probably in somebody else's collection and take it?
Probably found it and goes by the rules of finders keepers. This belongs to me now. You didn't guard it well enough.
Now, some things, the rules are what you find, you keep. However, you need to make it aware of to the local government. This is one of the reasons why the others kind of like went in their own little towns. You need to make us aware of it, because if it's crucial to the survival of everybody, we will confiscate it for the benefit of all. But if it's like, okay, you found some more tech, or you found some more this, you found some more that, okay, it's yours. Oh, you found some water, that's yours. But you find like a lake of water, that's ours.
It's everyone's.
You know
if you find a ship,
that's ours.
Yeah.
So,
this is definitely undeclared goods.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. You get back to the town, and unfortunately, there's no means of fixing this ship again. I mean, the parts that you need, you don't even know what they are right now. You can start theorizing, and it's like putting a plan together with the other mechanic friends, but you don't know what you really need to get the thing up and running. So is it just back to life as usual?
I think it might be. It's just always in the back of Sid's head. It's like, oh, it's probably just like a land vehicle. If I just need the right parts, I can patch it together again. And I think that they're saving up creds and weather to buy like parts to try and fix the ship someday.
Gotcha. And so months roll by. Summer hits again. It's devastating. The death toll from this summer is 7. 7 people are lost. Another one is left rendered to the point where they're not really going to be able to be working very much moving into the cooler months. It hurts because your colony is so small. It hurts losing 7 people. Unfortunately, the reason why you lost these 7 is because they refused to leave their little home where they were, but they were actually really good farmers. They were really good at what they were doing, and so they were trying to hold out to like the last possible minute, trying to get just a little bit more crop, because they make a ton of money off of the amount of edible food they're able to grow over in the region that they are. And they actually did pretty well in holding back the predators. Unfortunately, they stayed too long, and eventually heat stroke got the better of them, and they weren't able to survive the summer. Somebody else, the other person that was very injured, unfortunately came down with a disease in the summertime, and they were able to survive it, but left their body so racked they're going to have to do like menial tasks around the city as opposed to like the heavy work that they were doing before. Summer passes and rolls back into the cooler months, and more months roll by. Nearly a year passes since you finally got to take a ship out and go and see the stars and experience them. With the life that you had lived before and since, it almost makes it feel like it was nothing but a dream. Like one day you woke up and you remembered this amazing experience, but it was just a dream. You just slept in and got in trouble at work that day or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it feels like. Of course, because you know it wasn't a dream, at least for this first few months, you were able to take back to those old lessons, the piloting lessons. Like, oh, we're going to get this thing up and running. I'm so excited. Let me go do this. I'm going to sneak somebody, a couple pints of water, and they're going to let me in the old training facility. And you're able to do that, and you're able to crush it. I mean, you increased your skills so well. You even were able to sneak them in a little bit of food. And we're talking, there's a very, very, very rare fruit that exists on this planet. Mango? It's not avocado. That requires a lot of water.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah. Or God, almonds? Holy crap. An almond farm would just wipe out the planet. Anyways, so there's a very rare fruit that grows on this planet. It's actually called ambrosia, because people are like, even though it's realistically, it tastes kind of like a boring lime. Like, imagine if you had a lime that wasn't as citrusy, wasn't quite as juicy, wasn't quite as flavorful. It tastes kind of like a boring lime. And it's a bit more chewy than a lime would be. but it's called ambrosia because it's literally the most delicious thing that exists that you've been able to discover on this planet. So you're able to sneak them a little bit of ambrosia. You guys found a little batch of it and were able to get a whole basket of them. You know what I mean? Suck them a little ambrosia, a little water, and we're able to do battle training. Oh my god, this was incredible because part of the battle training scenarios that you're able to do, you had to practice like avoiding combat, avoiding attacks, repositioning the ship. At one point in the thing, as you're scaling up the difficulties of this training, you actually have a scenario where the captain goes down because it's like randomizes the bad things that happen to your vessel. The captain goes down and you take over commanding the ship, and you do very, very well in these training seminars, and it's very emboldening. At first, until those months go by, until that summer hits, until you don't have time, and until it gets forgotten again. One day you're out in the fields with your friends, trying to find something of value. It's been a dry couple of weeks, not just literally, but like finding things. Sorry. When one of them goes to like tap your arm, but like you're kind of bent down to grab something, it actually sounds like slapping the side of your face by accident. That's one of those like but hitting your head. How do you react to that?
Just, SWAT hand, be like, what?
Look! Ah! Look!
Yes, the scale. Oh, hey.
You see, coming down in a ball of fire, a Batarian cruiser. One of the two Batarian cruisers that exist on this planet is raining down into the planet. This big old ball of fire in front of it as it's cutting through the atmosphere way too hard, way too fast. And it's just like burning up on the outside. Eventually, the vessel breaks through the atmosphere enough that the ball of fire around it dissipates. And it just continues to careen towards the ground to crash. One of the buddies has like a pair of binoculars that they have, but like the super advanced ones. And they're like, whoa! And somebody just like grabs them out of the sky! And the other one's like, oh my god! Eventually, you're able to like grab them as well and look up and see. Roll me a perception check. You can do wisdom or intelligence. Tell me what you're using.
Intelligence.
Cool. So with intelligence, what you're doing is you actually know ships well enough that you are looking for key locations on the ship. So instead of just like randomly looking up there, you know exactly where to look. And you're able to see, there's no question in your mind, this ship has seen some sort of combat. There are hull breaches happening here and there. There's bits of the duratanium bent outwards and all mangled up. The whole thing is just blasted to hell. Holy shit. Is the power core? Was their power core hit? Like this thing is careening towards the planet. And you're watching this happen. And then you see something else. Behind the ship. In the wake of the ship. There's a smaller one. A different design. It's frigate class. It's a different design, not like the Batarian ones that you've seen before. It almost looks like an advanced human design. Kind of like the ones that you had seen in the schematics that, were left here when you grew up with, but like a much more advanced version of that. And you're looking and you're like, holy crap, there's a human frigate right behind it. And as that thing's crashing towards the ground, this one kind of breaks away, its propulsion system seemingly still online, and goes to crash somewhere else. Wait, where is that? Roll for me a lore or survival, intelligence or wisdom. Tell me what you're doing.
We are going to use wisdom and lore.
Okay. With your 6 on that, you remember as you're watching this, they're heading for the forest. That frigate is heading for the forest where our ship crashed. That's going to crash near our ship. And it does. It crashes. I mean, we're talking this thing is like a solid day's travel from where you are. But it actually crashes in the same forest that you guys had crashed your ship in before. And so that completely catches you. What do you say? What do you do?
Ooh, I think Sid already had their inky dinky little slug thrower gun out, and they were going to suggest go to the Batarian ship and, just kill some Batarians.
So ignore
But
the free.
I
Okay.
think because the Alliance or the human-ish ship crashed, I think they're going to say, guys, it's either you can't get the words out. It's either us or it's a trick. But I don't think they'd sacrifice one of their big things for a trick like this. We need to check it out. What if it's a rescue mission? What if they were right all along? What if we're actually getting off this planet?
One of it's silent amongst your friends, and the kind of douchey, more cynical one eventually like, "Oh, Sid, you're crazy. You're crazy. There's no way someone's going to save us. You're nuts. You spend way too much time with the old ones. No, that's not happening."
Only one way to find out. Unless
you
chicken.
wait. Yeah, chicken. I don't even know what a chicken is. Okay. Yeah,
None of
yeah.
us
I remember the cue cards when we were kids. Okay, I remember the cue cards.
Look,
I don't know what a chicken is.
C is for chicken. She's just like mutters under her breath.
So, and they're like, I ain't going. There's no way in hell I'm going. Come on, Tommy. Come on, Bill. Come on. Hey, guys, come on. We're not going. And Tommy and Bill actually do turn. And they're like, sorry, Sid. And they go to leave you.
I think Sid just kind of ignores it. It's like, I always knew you guys were... And she just like trails off as she just starts walking away.
Luckily for you, Bradley still comes with you. Bradley being the mechanic.
Damn it. Bradley's my Ashley, isn't it?
Bradley being the mechanic of them.
Immediately shoot them.
Kind of being a kind of a wimp, and definitely doesn't want to go. It's very on the sleeve. However, also having had the opportunity to touch the stars, having had the opportunity to work on a vessel, it means a lot to Bradley. Bradley doesn't have parents, he doesn't have siblings. They were all kind of lost a long, long time ago. And so Bradley always looked up to you as a sibling. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
so you're going that way, and it's one of those, yeah, let's get out of here. And so turns to go with you. And so you and Bradley start heading where? To the crashed vessel?
Yes.
Okay. So you start heading to that crashed vessel and trying to make your way there. To get there, you're going to have to roll me a survival check. It's going to be an intelligence or wisdom. Your call.
This is where I get killed.
Bradley gives you a +1.
Oh. Hey, I don't get killed. Yet.
You're actually able to find your way to that forest, no problem. To the part of the forest where you want to be, no problem. You're able to find your way there and starting to look for the ship. Finding the actual ship itself, the one that crashed, is relatively easy. There's smoke and stuff coming from it, but it's hard to see the smoke because it's through like all the wiry brush and whatnot, through the actual forest. You have to roll for me one more survival check. You can do the same one if you'd like, but the DC's even lower.
Okay. That'd be wisdom again. +1 or +0 this time?
+1.
All right.
Bam.
Hey.
So, you and Bradley have little to no problem finding your way over to that vessel. Luckily for you, there is an area through here. There are old tunnels that are through these forests. They're put there by the colony that you're from many, many years ago because there's a water hole over here that every, few months to year kind of bubbles up a bit of water. You can come over and collect a few hundred liters from it and bring it back. However, the trek all the way over here tends to be dangerous. It only bubbles up every few months to year. If you don't come soon enough, the creatures around will drink it. If you come too soon, you made the trip for nothing. You know what I mean? So there is a pathway that you can take to get here. And so the plan is for you to go down that path and try to find your way to the broken ship. And eventually you do. Eventually you do find your way to where that vessel crashed. And you make your way there, sneaking your way there as best as you possibly can. Then, as things are getting late, as the night is getting very, very late, and you know that you're going to have to buckle down, like you're close to the ship, you know you're close to the ship, you have to decide, do we push on? Do we keep trying to find the ship and hope that...
Is the ship on fire?
Whatever fires would have been on the ship are out. You know what I mean? So it's like it's glowing in the dark, right? Do you want to push on to find the ship, or do you want to bunker down for the night and find it in the morning when you have more light and it's a little safer?
Well, I assume the worst of the predators come out at night, but I think Sid would push on. It's like can't give up this opportunity.
You're gonna have to roll for me a perception wisdom check then.
This is where I die. I'll just start rolling my character now. 8.
You notice one. One of those big creatures. It's not far from you. And because of the fact that, like a Krogan or most reptiles, its eyes are on either side of its face, you're pretty sure it sees you too. You and your companion. However, it's not focused on you. Almost immediately after you see it and it sees you, it starts slinking forward quickly.
Towards me or away from me?
Away from you. But towards kind of like where you're heading.
I think Sid is going to just like... I'm sure humans here have like their own like warning system, like just bird calls kind of. And she just do like one of those to see if anybody responds.
Nobody responds.
Well, shit. Because if this is a human vessel, they're probably all going to die to the predators. If it's a Batarian vessel, fuck them. She can't decide what to do here. And she looks over towards Bradley. It's like, what?
He's still looking at that thing moving away, like he's thanking the heavens and all of the various gods that could be inside them that it chose to go the opposite direction.
I think she's just going to shout out. It's like, hey, there's something heading towards you if you're over there.
No response.
In that case, I think they keep moving.
Okay. You keep moving, like try to follow behind the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Roll for me a sneak dexterity check.
And I got a 4. This is how I die.
Occasionally it looks back and it sees you and it's like...
I think she responds in kind. It's just like...
if you actually try to intimidate it back...
No, not intimidate. Just like mocking it. It's like...
Oh, okay. So
just
if it's just like a little
see.
face. And
Yeah.
it does that, and eventually it'll like raise up its tail, and it flicks it like really fast, and it has this big spiked tail that you know can go through walls. Like you've literally seen them like crash into metal walls and cut spikes into them. So if it hits a person, it just impales, right?
Yep.
And the spikes are of decent size on its
You
tail.
know.
So it like flicks its tail back and forth while like turning back towards you and like arcing its tail up and whatnot. And, you know, more or less making sure you know, like, back off. This is my meal, you know?
At the same time, like, it does that. She just, like, you know, flicks her little handgun. Like, yeah, I got one too.
Whether or not it knows what that is, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't show a reaction. It's a reptile. They don't not exactly expression creatures. They easily read from a distance, flicking tails and hisses. So, complex ones. So, it continues moving forward. And eventually it starts moving quicker. And these creatures move quicker in this kind of terrain than you do, because it can slink underneath the spikes and the thorns, and they don't cut into it. Even the sharpest of them, it can use its head to kind of like, you know, brush its way past them and through it. And so it eventually makes its way, you eventually make your way through this pathway enough to get to an opening. A big opening that shouldn't be here, but is... because it's where a chunk of the ship crashed and landed.
Okay. We're definitely going to look into that.
Okay, well, it is dark out, so you can't see which chunk this is. You just know that it is a chunk. What do you like go and investigate this chunk itself, or do you go to continue? Like, what do you want to do?
I think we're gonna investigate this chunk.
Roll for me an electronics intelligence check.
10.
You quickly realize that this chunk happens to be where the engine room was. Walking up to it and looking inside, you see there are a few bodies on the lying on the ground. 3 of them, all human, all dead. It's one of those. It does not look good. Roll me a perception wisdom with a -2.
This is where I get jumped. Hey! It's happened!
Don't worry, because of what you were rolling for. So it's not like, oh, you get dust in your eyes. Because there's like nothing super negative that can happen from what I was going to describe. So more or less, you just get nothing. I'm giving you nothing.
I was assuming reroll character, Frank.
Yeah, no. I wasn't like planning on something attacking you here. So you go into the room and look around, and you see it's the engine room, and you see the dead bodies, and aren't really able to get anything else. Not with a quick survey of the room.
Okay.
What do you do?
Do they have any like identifiers on them, like name tags or anything like that?
You go to check it out, and they do.
Oh.
They have dog tags.
Oh, she's just gonna like rip them off. I assume, like, the humans here kind of have dog tags or the like for whatever scrap metal they can. It's gonna be like, oh my god, there's actually humans. I can't take the bodies, so I'll take some type of proof.
Dog tags on one side have the Alliance stamp, and on the other side have their name, rank, and job, and NVC.
I assume that the Alliance stamp has like changed in the past 26 years.
Actually, barely.
Oh, well, in that case, it's like, oh, it is a rescue mission.
Huh. It's very, very barely changed. Go ahead.
Oh no, she's just like, neat, and just pockets them and goes to the next area. She'll let the predators have the bodies.
Mm-hmm. You are starting to make your way out and trying to head to another area, when all of a sudden you hear boom from afar. It was loud. It was a very loud shot. You've heard a shot like that before. You're pretty sure it was a shotgun, but not just like a regular shotgun. You're pretty sure it's a Prothean tech shotgun, and it's coming from one of the other chunks of metal up ahead. With that, we're actually going to call the session right here. I'm gonna call it right here. You just walk out of a chunk with the engineering, a couple of corpses. Couldn't find anything else, and heard a shotgun blast go off in the clearing with a whole bunch of, Cool. Anything else that you would like to talk about or say, Frank?
No. I think I'm pretty excited.
Awesome.
For this upcoming game.
Terrific. Well, that session was just shy of an hour, so it actually works out perfectly for me. I'm glad about that. I am going to go. So thank you so much, Frank, for coming by and getting kind of into the basics of your character before we start the campaign.
Hey,
kind of
thanks
know
for
where
having
we're starting. Of course, yeah. All right. I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.